City of Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire County Council today, Thursday, the 28th of November 2024. Today we're in the Glover Room, Stoke Town Hall. Agenda item number 1 is apologies for absence. Mr. Everly, do we have any apologies for absence?
We do. Councillor Jane Ashworth from Stoke City Council.
Any others? None. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor White.
Yeah, Chair, just on item number 5, Local Visitor Economy Partnership, I'm a member of the LVEP.
Any others? For the record, nobody's indicating. Agenda item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have your approval that they represent a correct record of the previous meeting?
Move that, please.
They do. Yeah.
In that case, I'll sign that off as a correct record. Agenda item number 4, Growth Hub. Mr. Hodge, if you could take us through the report, and then we'll have the opportunity to discuss it and consider the recommendations. Mr. Hodge, we're with you.
Thank you, Chairman. The Growth Hub essentially works to create private sector growth by supporting the development of sustainable new businesses across Stoke and Staffordshire, Stoke City and Staffordshire, enabling companies to grow, diversify and encourage new products and ultimately employ more people. The Hub encourages people to engage via business helpline, website, weekly newsletters and events. The Growth Hub adopts a partnership approach, working to support other providers to avoid duplication and works through seminars, workshops and webinars. It provides monthly reports to the Department for Trade about local economic conditions, needs and concerns, local intelligence, which the government finds is very important and helpful. It also sets out KPIs for 2024-25, which are set out in the report at paragraph 3. Core funding is received annually from the Department for Business and Trade and is just shy of £300,000. This can be withdrawn at any time. What this committee has previously agreed is a 2-year funding strategy, drawing on the reserves from the LEP to create a contingency pot. As part of the paper, there is a proposal to roll over the contingency pot to enable a 2-year programme to be continued in order to provide a much more effective growth hub rather than one that is reliant on an annual settlement. That's the paper, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Councillor Watson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think this is a good news item and a nice item to kick the agenda off. It's good that since this body committed 2 years worth of funding, that since then the government put in 1 year of funding and committed to that. So that really puts it onto a good footing as for going forwards. So I think it's just a good start to this body.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Yeah, I absolutely concur with that. I think it's really good that we've got this under our auspices. I think that improvement in the performance demonstrates that it's in the right place and it's under the right management. We've got it on a financially sound footing and we're able to continue to invest in it for the benefit of our local businesses. So it's a good news story.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hodge. We've got 4 recommendations here. For the Joint Enterprise Delivery Committee, first, delegate responsibility for the finalisation of the Growth Hub strategy for April 24 to March 26 to the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub Steering Group. Notes that the government has recently confirmed in the October 2024 budget announcement that the Growth Hub core grant is set to continue for at least a further year into 25-26 and maybe beyond, who knows. Approves the continuation of the 1-year contingency of £298,250 from the LEP, Local Enterprise Partnership Reserves for 26-27 to enable the continuation of the 2-year strategy as agreed by the committee in May 2024. And finally, delegate responsibility for the finalisation and submission of the 6-monthly biannual report for the period 1st of April 2024 to the 30th of September 2024 to the Growth Hub Manager and Senior Finance Business Partner. They are the recommendations. All those in favour?
Agreed.
For the record, that is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. We move then to the Local Visitor Economy Partnership update. Councillor White, you have declared an interest, but notwithstanding that fact, you do have a lot to say on the subject, and I will invite you to say so shortly.
Thank you.
But to kick us off, Mr. Nickling, if you could introduce the report, I'd be grateful.
Chair. So as the committee is aware, the visitor economy is one of the area's key strengths, and it contributes around £2.3 billion to the local economy and employs around 24,000 people. So it's vital that we continue to support this important part of our economy. So at the end of last year, we had the exciting news that we'd been successful in securing a local visitor economy partnership for Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, which provides a number of significant benefits for the area, including access to support and further funding programmes. So this committee has already shown its commitment to furthering the development of the visitor economy for the area through the provision of 324,000 of funding to increase the capacity and capability, so using legacy reserve funds. And over the last year, we've undertaken a substantial amount of work in this area, including the appointment of Alistair Budd to the LVEP, Local Visitor Economy Partnership Board, and also 15 senior representatives of the private and public sector to help steer this important agenda forward. And that also includes the recent formulation of the LVEP growth plan. So we look forward to working proactively with the board to ensure that we continue to move the LVEP partnership forward. I'd just like to draw the committee's attention to a few of the recent successes from the Local Visitor Economy Partnership. So we featured in the Taking Britain to the World Familiarisation Roadshow with international buyers. So that packaged Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent together with the Lake District in Oxfordshire. We secured £10,000 from English Heritage to support itineraries that package together Stoke-on-Trent, Stafford and Lichfield for international markets. And we've also secured a seat on the England Visitor Economy Strategy Committee, which obviously is a fantastic win for the area. So that's the overview of the paper, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Nickley, in your introduction there, it's absolutely astounding what's been achieved in such a short period of time. And to the officers that work for and with you, our tribute to them for their tremendous efforts, and our thanks indeed for everything they're doing. And let's keep going, putting Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire on the map. The fact that we're in the same breath as major cities, as major tourist destinations like the Lake District is something to really celebrate. Absolutely wonderful. Councillor White, with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. So this is a real passion of mine, and I was fortunate enough to be the chair of the predecessor to the Local Visitor Economy Partnership, so our local tourist board. And I took over the chairmanship of that as we were getting to the tail end of the pandemic, and the visitor economy around the country and in Staffordshire was in the toughest of times that it has been in living memory. Obviously, with people prohibited from attending most visitor attractions, and the bounce back that we have seen in our local visitor economy is quite something to behold, and those numbers there reflect that. So we have a powerhouse of a visitor economy. The attractions that we have within the geography of Staffordshire put us right up there at the top table in terms of areas of the country for visitor attractions, and that's why Visit England and the government have recognised this area as being deserving of a visitor economy partnership, which puts us at that top table. I think the really important thing, though, is what we do with it. It's nice to have a badge, and it's nice to have that access that it provides to Stoke and Staffordshire to have discussions with national and international bodies about tourism and visitor economy. But it's what we can do with it. And I think the most important opportunity for us is about developing those links in people's minds around the country, but also internationally, about what you can come to our part of the world and do. People often come to one thing in Staffordshire. So they might go to Trenton Gardens, where I am this evening, for the start of their Christmas lights. One of the top 5 paid-for gardens in the country. So up there with places like Kew Gardens. But they might not realise that they can go to Wedgwood a few miles away, or over to Alton Towers to ride the roller coasters, and all be within our area. So building that awareness for me is the key opportunity that we have to grow that visitor economy further, have more people staying in our hotels. So rather than coming for the day, staying for a weekend or a week. And we can do all of that, and working together with the LVEP as the vehicle for that means that we've got the structures in place to be able to do all of that efficiently and take those opportunities.
Thank you. Councillor Watson, of course, Stoke-on-Trent's got that internationally recognised brand, which is Wedgwood. I can't think of a place in the world you could go to and people wouldn't know Wedgwood. I hope they know it's from Stoke-on-Trent, but this is part of the endeavour of making sure that the world knows what's on offer in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent.
Absolutely. I actually have friends in Australia, and when we took them Emma Bridgewater mugs, immediately, that's Emma Bridgewater. I was stunned. I thought that she didn't realise it would be so quick. So yeah, she completely identified that. I mean, it is exciting times. Just to pick up where Councillor White, left off. Trentham is just on very much on the doorstep of and right in the middle of Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, and just most people, visitors and residents alike, will not be mindful or interested in the difference in the political boundaries or the geopolitical boundaries between the two areas. It's just one large geography. Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire working together and able to move with ease between places, stay for the weekend, stay in a hotel, and so on. We're just over the road from Trentham. You've got Gladstone Pottery. That's inside Stoke-on-Trent. People are not, mindful of, the exact geographies of what's in what area and what's in another. Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire is where it is. I mean, and also next door to Gladstone, next door in the sense of next year, we're celebrating the centenary, the Stoke-on-Trent 100, and there'll be lots of opportunities, lots of events, and just so many opportunities just to mingle, to spend some time, and just to while away some hours in Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. So exciting times ahead. So looking forward to seeing the impact of this LVEP on this geography, on this unique area, with its unique history and its worldwide reach.
You make a good point about administrative boundaries. Business tourists just don't really care about administrative boundaries. What it's got to do, it's got to work for them. They've got to know where they're going, where they can stay, and what they can spend their money on. And that's what we're all about through this LVEP, making sure that that can happen.
That's right.
Mr. Nickling, was there anything you wanted to say in summary before I go to the recommendations?
That's it, Chair. Thank you.
So there are 4 recommendations that the committee note the local authority's strong ongoing commitment to the success of the local visitor economy partnership, the agreement to utilise 324,000 of legacy Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire local enterprise partnership reserve funding to increase the capacity and capability of the partnership. And I think you've heard from Councillor White and Councillor Watson the reason why that's so important. To note this, the significant early successes already achieved by the LVEP, as it's known, as outlined in paragraph 16 of this report, which you can refer to, and the written reports available online, including securing a seat on the national steering group responsible for developing England's visitor economy strategy. Note the growth plan priorities set out by the newly formed LVEP board, and to support the exploration of a destination development partnership, strengthening relationships in destination and across neighbouring LVEPs. And just by way of a final point for me, I'd just like to pay tribute to Councillor Ashworth for her decision to move forward and allow us to create the LVEP. Without her decision to make that happen, we wouldn't have been able to move forward on the LVEP. And I am very, very grateful because you've seen the work we've been able to achieve as a result of that. And I think she's been the leader for only a couple of weeks when she made that decision. I'm very grateful that she did so. Right, moving then to agenda item number 7. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to vote on things, isn't it, before we move on? Am I permitted? Just a tradition. So let's go back to tradition. All those in favour? Oh, I think I have. I think you have to. He's declared an interest, so it's just over to me and you, really.
Okay. Well, I'm in favour.
You're in favour. I'm in favour too. So that's good. We're both in favour. So that's then carried. Right. Thank you for that. Agenda item number 7 is the Green Loans 6. Sorry. Yep. Careers Hub delivery plan. It's all falling apart. It was going so well. No, it's not. So agenda item number 6, which is the Careers Hub delivery plan. Mr. Ayres, if you'd like to take us through the report.
Thank you, Chair. So the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Careers Hub aims to improve careers education for young people by working directly with and connecting businesses to the education system. We're jointly committed to ensuring that the Careers Hub continues to be a success and, most importantly, delivers improved outcomes for young people and businesses across all parts of Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. Today, the committee is being asked to consider the delivery plan for the hub for this academic year. And this document outlines several key projects, including ensuring that young people have those essential skills required in the workplace and addressing disadvantage and aspiration. So the decisions today are to approve the Careers Hub delivery plan for the academic year 2024-25, which is set out in Appendix 1 of the report, and support that full updates on progress and performance be presented to our joint officers group on a termly basis and to each meeting of this joint committee.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think what's key is in order to get essential skills embedded into the workforce, you need to get children interested in the potential for the opportunities that the workforce can provide. So I think I support this strategy, which is connecting businesses to the education system. You know, we can all tell stories. When I was at school, they plugged in some questions into a computer and it spat out a job idea. This is much better because you're actually getting to see, hear and feel representatives and what they're talking about and get a picture for what they're describing in the schools. And it just gives students vision. When they've got vision, they're going to want to progress. They're going to know that there's something beyond the end of the street, outside of their town, outside of their area. And it's when you've got two universities on the doorstep, just ready to, you know, instill those skills and cement them into the career path that they want. You've got a winning formula there to actually get people connected with their future, connected with an exciting career, and, you know, discover something of the dignity and value that work brings to you. So I'm just looking forward to seeing this go from strength to strength, and seeing the connection between more business representatives getting into schools, showing young people that there is a future, and long may it continue.
And before the meeting, we talked about the City of Stoke-on-Trent's commitment to aspiration for all in the city, and I think that's something that you've been majoring on, Councillor Ashworth, for some time, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Councillor Ashworth was particularly keen on to see turnaround from people who are off work on a long-term sickness, and actually address that. And I just hope that some of, you know, the vision instilled with this can just really help sort of, you know, shape a future and make people really want to get involved with that.
Councillor White.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jay. Yeah, and this is such an important topic, and it's one that sadly has been a Cinderella subject for too many years. And I think we've all got those stories from. Obviously, I only left school a couple of years ago, but you know, we've all got those stories to tell from school where careers advice and guidance was somewhat lackluster, and it's an ongoing challenge in schools. And I think it's important to recognise that the biggest driver of those challenges is the pressure on school time. You know, it's very difficult to fit things into that school timetable with that pressure to deliver. Particularly those key qualifications at a level 4 in GCSE maths and English, so you can progress on to whatever you want to do. But we know that for those students who are working effectively and are able, it's really important that they have the right goal in mind, so that they're going on to whatever training or work is most relevant to them. But crucially, and it's here in the report where it talks about reducing the risk of NEET, so young people who are not in education, employment or training post 16. It's so important that at the very least, all students are feeling purposeful and they are working to a goal in mind. And careers advice and guidance is one of the ways of doing that. So it helps you identify a reason to work hard and study hard for those GCSEs. I'm drawn back to your first career in the army, where I think you were taught the key thing was to take action rather than to stop still. And this is the key to me. It's that we're motivating all of our young people to be active in their education and purposeful. And careers advice and guidance is a really key part of that. So this is core business for this committee, I believe. I'm pleased that the engagement with schools is growing. And more of them are making that time in their busy curriculum timetable for this. And I hope that today marks another step in us continuing to invest in this and develop it in partnership with our schools and our excellent training providers, our colleges, our universities, and our great employers.
Was there anybody else wish to say anything to this item before we move on? Mrs. Glither, are you sure you don't want to say anything to this one? No. Anything else you want to add before I go to the recommendations?
Thank you, Chair.
Right, in which case the recommendations, there are two. That we review the Careers Hub delivery plan for the academic year 24-25 at Appendix 1 and provide any further recommendations to be considered for inclusion. I think given the comprehensive nature of it, I think we're pretty content with it. Consider a proposal to provide a full update on progress and performance to the Joint Committee Officers Group on a termly basis and to each Joint Enterprise Delivery Committee. I think given the importance of this, I can understand why this committee wishes to receive reports on that on a regular basis. Those are the two recommendations. All those in favour?
Agreed.
That is agreed then. Right, we're now going to move on to the Green Loan Scheme. Now, I know this is good news, and rather than steal your thunder, Mr. Hodge, I will hand over to you to introduce the report, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Green Loan Scheme supports efforts of our local businesses to address climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions across Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, which is one of the top priorities of both councils. Staffordshire County Council was invited by the West Midlands Combined Authority to be a primary delivery partner for the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire area, delivering energy assessments and grants on behalf of the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero through our Green Solutions programme. Through that programme, we're aiming to deliver over 300 energy efficient assessments and provide £2 million in grant funding to small and medium-sized businesses across both Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. However, through that process of delivery, we spotted a slight challenge that our businesses were facing in that they couldn't find the match funding required to benefit from the grants on offer. And therefore, in response, both the City Council and the County Council agreed to utilise assets transferred from the former local enterprise partnership to make repayable grants available to support those businesses to make sure that they did not miss this opportunity of grant funding to support their efforts to address climate change and, of course, to grow. These loans can range from £5,000 to £200,000, and I'm pleased to say the first loan was awarded back in October for £40,000. The Green Solutions programme has now delivered over £1 million of support to businesses across both Stoke and Staffordshire, and could I suggest, Chairman, clearly highlights the importance both local authorities put on addressing climate change and business growth and support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hodge. Councillor White.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So, yeah, this really is a good news story, and I think it's a really good example of local authorities doing what we're here to do, which is something that the private sector isn't able to do for itself. So this is a scheme that offers businesses the opportunity to be more energy efficient, and that achieves two goals. So the first is it means we're using less energy, which is a good thing in terms of decarbonisation. And improving the condition of our planet, but it also makes them more efficient, which is good for them as businesses. It makes them more productive and profitable, that gap that we recognise as councils working together in the time just before we formalise that working together through this committee, and recognising that cash flow was an issue. And providing that, I think, is a really good example of the public sector using its financial means to help businesses to do something that's a good thing, but that they couldn't manage to do for themselves. The only other thing I would say is that it's also done in a way that's very safe. So the loans are very efficiently managed through this process. So it's a good use of public money, and it's a loan to help out a friend. Because all of our businesses are our friends, and we're here to help them out and to get where they need to be.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, I echo that, and it's just a real story, not just a good news story, but it's an action story, isn't it? I mean, it feels like it wasn't that long ago that both cabinets approved the scheme, and yet already businesses have jumped on that made the most of that, and there's businesses in the pipeline that are coming through to get the best out of this, and it's good for their energy security and it's good for the environment. So there is just no shortage of taking action at improving and enhancing the business community in Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, and we're just happy to serve and support that.
I'm absolutely delighted with this scheme. It's a real success story for the two local authorities, and indeed playing to the supporting businesses in achieving that climate change objective and energy efficiency. Actually, even for those watching who perhaps aren't fans of the climate change agenda, the energy efficiency part is a strong enough case in and of itself. And the fact that we're able to facilitate this is absolutely tremendous. Colleagues, does anybody else would wish to say anything to this before we move to the recommendations? No. There are 3 recommendations that we note. The cabinets of Staffordshire County Council and Stoke-on-Trent City Council agreed to use the use of the Growing Places Fund GPF for the provision of loans to enable businesses to invest in decarbonisation measures through the Green Loans Scheme. The note, the scheme is now operational and provided its first loan in October. And finally, agree that an update on the delivery of the scheme will be provided at future meetings of the Joint Committee whilst the scheme is operational. And if there is anybody watching online, and I know, having been a councillor for a very long time, that's pretty unlikely, please do publicise this as widely as you can. There's a limited period of time available to take these, to make use of these funds. You should seize the opportunity whilst you have it, because once it's gone, it's gone. I would ask Mr. Hodge to liaise with the communications team in Staffordshire County Council, Mrs. Clitheroe, if you could do likewise in Stoke-on-Trent City Council, to ensure as many businesses as possible are aware of this opportunity, because it would be a shame to see any of the money returned. And I think there's only till the 31st of March to go, so it's not very long away at all. Right, with that, we move forward to the legacy projects. That's local enterprise partnership legacy projects. Mr. Shakespeare.
Thank you, Chair. The Local Growth Fund and Growing Places Fund programmes have been hugely successful in supporting businesses to survive and thrive, and allowed investment in key infrastructure projects, supporting the delivery of jobs and homes across the area. This committee now has the responsibility for reporting on the progress of these programmes to central government, which include 57 projects that were previously approved by the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership. 37 approved LGF projects and 20 GPF projects, leading to a total grant investment of 98.3 million and 23.7 million respectively into Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. All these projects are now financially complete following the drawdown of their approved grant allocations, and they're expected to complete their agreed contracted outputs by March 2026.
Thank you. I'd just like a point of clarity. Mr. Chadburn, if you could just give us a point of clarity on one of the items, just so that there isn't any doubt about the exact status of that project.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the completed outputs associated with the City East Link Road, so they relate to road and junction improvements and housing outputs. So for the avoidance of doubt, they do not relate to the completion of the road itself, which we know didn't take place.
Thank you. This is merely a update report, a public update report. It's not really one that lends itself to a great deal of debate, but I will just defer to Councillor White and Councillor Watson in case there is anything they wish to say to this. Councillor White, anything you wish to say?
I suppose it's at the risk of stating the obvious, it's very important that we're publicly accountable for these public monies. So any members of the public who are watching or carefully consider we're doing as always today. That's what we should.
Councillor Watson, anything you wish to add?
Agreed. It's here because of transparency and yeah.
Thank you. 2 recommendations. That the Joint Enterprise Delivery Committee delegates responsibility to the finalisation and submission of the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership Local Growth Fund Reports 24-25, Quarter 1 and Quarter 2 return to the Section 151 Officer of Staffordshire County Council, the Head of Funding Business and Enterprise at Staffordshire County Council, and the Senior Finance Business Partner at Staffordshire County Council for for those that aren't aware, there's an awful lot of acronyms in there that I've expanded out so they come across in English. Quite a bit of work that. And then secondly, delegates responsibility to the finalisation and submission of the Stoke and Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, GBF, getting building fund, I would say. Report 24-25, Q1 and Q2 return to the Section 151 Officer of Staffordshire County Council, Head of Funding Business and Enterprise at Staffordshire County Council, and the Senior Finance Business Partner at Staffordshire County Council. Whoa, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? All those in favour?
Yes.
That is approved. Right, the final item on the agenda for today is the Joint Enterprise Delivery Committee 24-25 Revenue Grants and Reserves. And Mr. Shakespeare, you are on again.
Thank you, Chair. So following the closure of the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership on the 1st of April 2024 this year, the Joint Committee has oversight for 3 former LEP annual revenue grants and 2 former LEP reserves. So turning to the grants firstly, during the current financial year 24-25, a grant of £234,285 was awarded for the purpose of supporting local authorities with expenditure incurred in winding up and transitioning LEP responsibilities. This grant is known as the Local Economic Development Fund, which was formerly the LEP Core Fund. There is expected to be an underspend against this grant line, which is unring-fenced, which is proposed to be carried forward, which is permissible under the terms of the grant to fund ongoing LEP legacy reporting requirements. And this will be the final year of that grant. Also in the current financial year 24-25, the Department for Business and Trade has awarded an annual growth hub grant allocation of £298,250 to support the delivery of the county's growth hub service. This is a ring-fence grant, and any underspend being returned to the Department of Business and Trade if there were any. Appendix 1 details the Growth Hub Core Grant spend plan, the spend to date and the forecast grant spend for this year. It is expected that the Growth Hub Core Grant allocation will be fully spent in 24-25. Finally, the Careers and Enterprise Company Grant, which funds the Careers Hub service across the city and the county schools and colleges, is awarded on an academic year basis. So given that the 24-25 academic year has only just begun, the spend to date against this grant will be reported at the next joint committee in early 2025. Turning to the reserves, the Joint Committee has oversight of 2 former LEP restricted reserves that are held by the accountable body Staffordshire County Council. These are as follows: the Getting Building Fund, GBF Reserve, and the Growing Places Fund, GPF Reserve. The Getting Building Fund Reserve currently holds a residual balance of £112,260. This remaining residual grant balance relates to the Rodbaston College not needing to draw down in full its LEP-approved GBF grant allocation for the Green Village construction and renovation works, which came within budget. The board should be aware that Rodbaston College has now formally sent a change of grant usage letter to the accountable body, asking that £61,180 of their remaining GBF grant allocation be repurposed to purchase additional IT equipment for the Village Green Centre. Any residual balance remaining against the GBF will likely then be returned to government. Finally, the Growing Places Fund Restricted Reserve currently holds an opening balance of £1,864,464. Within this fund, there are 2 debtor loan repayments due in 25-26, totalling £1,580,000, which would take the GBF reserve rolling balance up to just shy of £3.5 million. This committee has approved funding from this reserve in 2 phases for the new Green Loans Fund, which we've just heard about, which is now being delivered to SMEs to reduce both respective carbon footprints and future energy costs to businesses. And that's the report, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor White, now I know you're familiar with Rodbaston College. Is there anything you'd like to say about the proposal to award £61,180 for the purchase of IT equipment?
Yes, so we're very fortunate in Staffordshire that we have an excellent family of colleges around the county and the city, and South Staffordshire College, with their main campus at Rodbaston, is a shining example the further education that's offered in the county. And they're also a shining example on this occasion of really good financial management. They've brought this project, which is extremely beneficial to Staffordshire people, in under budget. I think the request to use about half of that underspend that they've managed to achieve to enhance that project is entirely proper, and is something that I think we should be granting. I tend to be reluctant to see any money that central government grants us not remaining within the county, but it is taxpayers' money at the end of the day, and it will be put to a good purpose if any of that money, which isn't underspent, so is not required, does return to the Treasury. But I think using about half of it for this enhancement of that scheme is entirely proper.
Thank you. Councillor Watson, I know this is predominantly a process report or an information report to be noted, and with the exception of the Rodbaston College item, which Councillor White has talked to, but nevertheless, is there anything you wish to say before we move to the recommendations?
I'm happy to support the report, and on the Rodbaston College issue, it's good to see that there's been an underspend, and good to see that there's been some innovation on what to do with the underspend. So yeah, it all fits in with the creative county.
Thank you. Colleagues, any other comments around the room? Nobody indicating. In that case, to the recommendations. The Joint Committee note the spend to date against the 24-25 Local Economic Fund and Growth Hub Core grant spend plans. The Joint Committee note the Local Economic Fund grant is to end in 24-25. The Joint Committee note that funding of the annual Growth Hub Core grant has been extended by a further year to 25-26. That we note that the two former Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent local enterprise partnership reserve balances that have transferred to the accountable body and the spend commitments approved to date. And then finally, approved the Rodbaston College change of grant usage letter submitted to the accountable body, asking that 61,180 of their remaining GBF grant allocation be repurposed to purchase additional IT equipment for the Village Green Centre. They are the recommendations. All those in favour? Agreed. For the record, that is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the agenda for this afternoon. With that, there are no excluded items from the public. This meeting is closed.